have different context depending on what continent you're on. It's the same word where like the FAG word is a slur, but like people have used it in other places that have absolutely nothing to do with sexuality. It's words are dynamic. Words mean different things. And so the people on TikTok who are just reconnecting and deciding that they're native all of a sudden are like, oh no, we discovered these people. No, the fuck y'all didn't. And they made up that word. So that's why I have an issue with it. It's stupid in the first place. It's people trying to fit in, get in where they can fit in. And it's like, y'all don't even go here. Y'all don't even go here.
And the last time I was like, even like in the group chat was literally 4 fucking years ago. Literally. I have not been in that group chat. I left that group chat 4 fucking years ago.
Well, let me say this.
And I was never in the group chat because I always thought they were losers, but...
Let me say this. So, 4 years ago when that thing was first taken off, I'm a black content creator. And I can say that because I was pushing back, I didn't see these people, but over time, you guys heard what I said. This was a lot of people that I come to find out that they really didn't care for black people that much. Let alone, pretending this was sort of the guise of what they did it. But I'll say this though, in terms of the term wearable, like that was actually created by a black man. Actually created with the concept of not using more offensive terms. So when he made that term, I don't know, primarily he was around doing this. Okay, he's not.
But it's also like a Johnny come lately.
Hold on.
That's my issue.
Yeah, hold on. But so when he made that term, it was not at all intended to be a racial slur, right? It left people like me brought it from YouTube to Instagram, and all of a sudden the word started getting more and more popular. Once again, when I didn't have a problem with it on Instagram, but when I came to TikTok and I heard Suit Tech and all of them pushing back, not Suit Tech so much, Suit In and some of the syndicated were pushing back on that word, I didn't understand it, but I stood around here for a while and I understood. The word is used very much as a filler word, right? And I understood that, and because of that, we don't use that word here anymore. That term was not created at all to be offensive, but words can definitely take on a different form, and I think what happened on this platform, that became a replace word for the N-word. You can see it, you can feel it, you can feel the energy, and TikTok it got a lot of problems too, so I think that's another thing as well. So I kind of dismissed some of it in the beginning because I didn't see it. These people kind of present a certain way in front of me. I was debugging a lot of stuff, so I didn't really get to see it. Over time, I got to watch these comments. Like I said earlier, that group right there was a group that's very problematic. And it actually did more damage by causing unnecessary risks with the black community that distracted people like me who were trying to focus on information. So they did more harm than they did good. When I'm trying to educate my people and redirect it in terms of information, now we got all these little squabbles because now you're seeing anti-black stuff. Now we're not even focused on information no more. We focus on the squabble, and that's what I know. So I kind of like realized, okay, they're causing us more problems and more headache than they are in terms of kind of correcting this information. So so that's my stance on them. I'm glad that you guys push back on them. That's my stance on it. But that term did not start like that. I think it's important for everybody to remember this right here. This is about information. I said it earlier. I say it again. Somebody came up here earlier and said, "Why do you tell black people to tell you? Why do you argue with black people with identity?" One thing I learned about this thing is you have a whole headache arguing identity. You don't see me doing a lot of identity up here. This is an information discussion. And whenever you're challenging this stuff, it has to be through the lens of information. When you step out of information, you step into a fight that's dirty, that's personal, and it's not going to be productive. Stick to the information. Stick to educating the communities. Stick to correcting false information. Let the people have the dignity of saying whatever the hell they want to say. And I know people don't agree with that. People get to say whatever you want to say on here in terms of how you want to identify, but the information is not going to change. Because when you start arguing identity, it's not going to be a productive discussion. So that's what I always say about all this stuff. If some crazy black folk want to say I'm a full-blood Indian, That's not the war we're fighting. The war we're fighting is to protect our history, to stop indigenous erasure. We got to keep on information. So that's my advice. I've learned that try your best to always keep on information. Do not let people take you off your game. And I'll keep it going.
No, and that's fine, and I absolutely respect that. Now, I will, when it comes to identity, like in my spaces or any place I am, I'm absolutely going to police that, and I don't care. And if they want to continue to call me a toxic gatekeeper, me vale madre y me besa la fucking nalga que me besa el culo. Because the reason yeah, let me chill. F1, F1. F1, F1, por favor. Okay, F1. Okay, and the reason is because these people who are calling themselves that, the Wabo hunters, whatever. Like, look, I'm not going to police black people on whether they want to say the word or not. Just like I'm not going to police them on any other terminology that they use, like that anybody uses within their community. I don't expect people to police terminology that we use between us that refers to us. But the fact of the matter that multiple indigenous people, including indigenous Latinos, have told that group to stop using that word. And again, like I said, I don't like the fact that all these TikTokians think they discovered this group. Like y'all are brand new to this. Y'all are brand new to being Indian. Like we've been in this struggle. We've been dealing with these people. So stop acting like y'all discovered these weirdos. And my issue is that when they go to make content about these people, they are not connected themselves. They're also not educated and academic. And if I'm an elitist, I also don't care. I don't care. I spent a lot of money on my education. I'm proud of it. So you're not educated. You also don't have the cultural lens through which to view and analyze and scrutinize all of these issues. And yet you're talking about it. And what they do is provide pseudo history and information themselves, because they will do simple Google searches and pop that up and be like, oh, well, look, okay, but you're not contextualizing any of the sources that you are claiming to use. You're doing Google searches and only during doing surface level research. So how are you different than the crazy people saying that they're native? Like, y'all are also pretentious in my view.
Exactly. And that's why I have a problem with it. That's why I call it out. Because I do not like people who are not connected. This is like my biggest pet peeve. You yourself are not even connected to a community, trying to tell people who the fuck they are when you don't even know. And that's my biggest problem. And they don't go after white tea presenting natives who try to claim Cherokee, and we've caught so many. Taft is one of them.
Yeah, and I know them fuckers in real life. And they're racist.
And they infiltrate our spaces continuously. They speak over brown indigenous people or Afro-indigenous people consistently, and taking our voices away from the actual problems within our indigenous communities that we have to fucking highlight. So I'd much rather go after and villainize these people who are white tea presenting, who are trying to claim, much rather than this shit.
And whoever CJW is in the chat asking who are we to say whatever, maybe I am who the F I am. Pull up to Indianapolis and find out who the fuck I am. Okay, bet. Okay.
Other shit. Yeah, so glad we got that situation under control, because, like you said, I know of you defending black people against anti-blackness, and I've heard that you've been connected to Wabo hunters, but it's coming from pretendians most of the time. So half the shit, I don't even take them serious. But when I seen the TikTok trends video, I said, okay, I have to ask. First, I have to see if this group is even racist. Because if they not, then they don't need to even bring that shit to nobody. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, okay.
They are racist.
We got this
they are absolutely racist. They are.
Under control. So okay, so next is the next order of business is the science, because this was also brought up last night too, and this was also just brought up in this live before you came up. Yeah. So the fact that y'all don't agree with the science when it comes to natives, but you do agree when it comes to black people. Can we talk about that?
You're wrong, so we can talk about that. Yeah, because that's a mischaracterization.
So you do agree with the out of Africa theory, the migration patterns of
I
natives?
stated you're mad because I said that the Bering Strait theory has been refuted, and it 1000% has.
I'm not mad, and it hasn't been refuted.
It has repeatedly. I even gave you archaeological sites to reference.
Go ahead, OHF.
You don't mind if I jump in? So we can just, as a neutral person who really is open here and everybody position, y'all mind just teaching everybody your perspective? All of you guys are really intelligent, so you guys mind just all sharing for 5 minutes, maybe a couple minutes, your perspective on this, so everybody can understand before you have to defend it on this topic. You mind just sharing it with everybody? I'm curious to hear everybody's perspective on this.
Yeah, here's the deal. There is a reason why I will not discuss origin theories on TikTok or outside of academic spaces, period, because of the very narrow-minded approach to it and the anti-indigenous approach to some of the discourse. I'm not saying about like promoting one theory over another. I'm talking about the discourse around it. And here is the issue. Whether you believe in the out of Africa theory or if you believe in the multiple origins theory or anything else, that is not here nor there. The issue is with YT people consistently trying to insinuate where we came from or how we got here or when we got here. Yes, the Bering Strait theory has been refuted multiple times, and it's not just by indigenous epistemologies. However, it is extremely Eurocentric to dismiss indigenous epistemology simply because we use different methodologies and how we determine things. This is not only the case for us, this is for indigenous people globally. We have over time been proven to be like, oh wow, this theory that was put forth by this indigenous group out of this area was proven to be true, discovered to be true. What do you mean discovered to be true? We already know it was true. Yes, it has been refuted. You can look it up right now. If you don't have access to Wiley, if you don't have access to JSTOR, you can look it up on Google Scholar about how it has been refuted. You can look up the archaeological site of Monteverde in Chile, which predates the Bering Strait theory. So that is what I'm saying. If we have multiple archaeological sites that predate the ice corridor and all of that nonsense, all I'm saying is that yes, there are articles out there that show that it has proven to be refuted. Now, YT people and people who want to cape for YT supremacy can continue to support that all they want because they have to just prove that Native people aren't from here or whatever. I don't give a fuck about that. At the end of the day, we're not going to sit here and say that something has not been refuted when it has, because you can look this information up.
Okay, so yeah, science doesn't say that.
Yes.
It hasn't been. I'll let you talk.
Hold on, so the amount Chopper goes.
Yeah, go ahead.
She's comfortable sharing it. I don't know if it's it might be biases or things that make you not comfortable sharing it. But if you guys are comfortable sharing, I'd rather hear everybody's position.
They don't even have to see. This is the thing, though, OHF. They don't even have to share their oral traditions because this ain't an oral tradition conversation.
I didn't say science epistemologies. Indigenous people aren't just cave people, for fuck's sake. We have epistemologies that are scientific.
This is a science conversation, so we're not dealing with oral tradition. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. That's the problem. You feel like you gotta jump in and be involved in everything. I'm not even fucking talking to you. So, yeah, this is about science, not oral tradition. I don't want to know about, you don't have to tell your oral tradition because I don't want to know, especially if it's sacred. Understand that, respect that. We dealing with science, so we can leave that out. We can sit that outside the door respectfully, and you pick it up on your way out. We're just dealing with science.
That's fine too. If you don't feel comfortable sharing it, that's also fine too. She made a case on why she's not really comfortable sharing it on this app, on this kind of platform, and that's fine as well. So, but if you are comfortable and you do want to share it, just feel free.
OHF, I just wanted to let you know that Blackwater is on that panel. Just FYI.
All right, so I wanted to state that, like, I, as an environmental scientist, I cannot just go off of theory. I go off of law, and if it is set in stone as a law, then it is so. If it is a theory, that means that there's not enough information to make it a law. when it comes to science, okay? So really understand that as a scientist, I cannot go by, okay, that's a fact when it's just theory. I do wanna say that and I've already showed this many times on Princeton EDU that it has been refuted, and it was actually the other way around, considering that me and Carolina come from Athabascan tribes. Those Athabascan tribes went up into Siberia to marry people of that area, because we literally we were in Canada all the way down to Mexico. That is literally true. And yes, no, I do not refute that the DNA, because I already said it was the other way around. That's why you see a lot of people who do have that DNA, who do have that haplogroup, is because of that marriage happening. We have a clan system, and whenever we go into our clan system, that's not good. Yes, Athabascan is a language family, but it's also a people and a big group of people who migrated largely. So that's exactly what we were trying to say. That's what we were trying to state. And it got really heated. I can understand from both sides. Like I said, as a scientist, I see both sides, but I cannot take it into law. Like I can't, as I said, I can't. I'm literally still in school, you guys. I'm going for my master's for ecology. So when there's a theory, it's not a law. It's not set in stone, because there's not enough information. And I have told a million times that we do not have enough information, right? Out in the world, between tribes, we do. Like, there are certain classes that only are for the Net people at ASU, or Hopi people at ASU, that nobody else who is not federally recognized cannot take these classes, because it has a lot to do with our origin stories, right? And I said that many times, just like I said that there are plenty of places in Mexico that you can't go into unless you come from that pueblo original. They will not allow you to access that information. And I understand it is gatekeeping, but unfortunately, we have to gatekeep. And it's the reason why we still are in existence. We do have to gatekeep. So that's literally that's all I had to say was, listen, I understand that information, and a lot of information is not out there. A lot of information is not disposable to the world, and it's only kept within tribal matters. And it's just because we gatekeep for a reason. It's called self-preservation, and we're still here because of it. And you just have to understand that that's just the way it is, unfortunately. But I understand both sides. I see both sides. But like I said, because I come from two different tribes, and they have two different stories, but they also have their own archaeologists and their own scientists and their own biologists and their own geneticists, I can't really talk too much about it.
Yeah, so cool. First, I want to say a theory never becomes a law or a fact. That's not the intention of a theory. The scientific theory is to explain and organize the facts. It's an explanation of facts. It never becomes a law. It never becomes a fact. That is never the intention. That's one. A theory is the highest level of scientific observation. That's two. As far as going back, it's just that, going back. So hold on, let me turn on this screen, because I believe this is the article that you pulled up once before.
A theory explains why something happens, while a law describes how something happens and predicts what will happen. Explanation: a law is a mathematical statement that describes under nature certain conditions and predictions. A theory is a body of knowledge that uses evidence and hypothesis to explain how nature works, i.e., it does not have enough information to become a law.
It never is. Where did you get that it's supposed to become a law?
That is literally how science. That's how science works.
I got you. So, but you can pull that up for me, and I'm pulling this up for you because when I first met you, this is the article that you showed me. Native Americans and their genes travel back to Siberia. New genome reveals. I mean, y'all could go and read this. I'm not about to read it. It's Science Magazine, but I mean, the title should tell you enough. I've read this source multiple times. It's talking about how those.
That's not the article. That is not the article.
Okay, well, pull it up. Pull it up.
Not the article. This is the article. Thank you very much.
Okay, go put her on the big screen, please.
This is the most recent article. Princeton's research office offers unexpected insight of the emergence of the very land.
Unexpected. Okay, gotcha. That's 2023, so that's not newer.
What?
I said that's 20. I was talking to her.
Yeah, 2023, like just last year. Wow.
Yeah, as opposed to this year, right?
Oh my God.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that there's new information coming out every single year. And as a scientist, I cannot say that something is law because something can come out that's new that we can refute that theory. Do you understand?
No, just keep talking. I don't need a teaching. Just keep talking. I'm gonna read this real quick.
I love how we have a problem with white supremacy when it's convenient, but we're okay with it. We're okay with it when it's bad.
Calma, por favor. No trae emociones, por favor.
Nah, girl, because this is ridiculous. It's the same people who want to be like, oh, we're pro science, but we believe in the Bible. Like, come the fuck on.
Claro.
Can I provide an input here? Sorry guys, I'm kind of falling asleep, but I'm also listening.
Go ahead, Ria, I'm sorry.
Okay, so the thing is, I don't think anyone is specifically wrong in this conversation, like OHF was saying. It's very intelligent people on this panel. I support what Chapa is saying with regards to when it's a theory, it does stand regards to get disproven. However, with regards to biology, a lot of theories do not translate into law like they are in physics. So whilst evolution is disputed, it is still widely regarded as the theory, quote unquote, of evolution. That doesn't mean that there's any refute to it because we know evolution does exist and it is it's proven, across multiple species, not just humans, and it's not just relatable to just the human species. With regards to the migrations, because while you guys have been speaking, and I have been looking into this, right? With biology, there's so many different theories and alternate theories of migration patterns, and the Bering Strait has been a very predominant theory that has withstood the test of time so far, with regards to the what is it called, the peopling of the Americas. However, like Chapa just showed, there's more recent studies that are showing that they may be, so it's an alternate theory to where to the peopling of the Americas. That doesn't mean it's the only one, doesn't mean there's one and only way that the peopling of the Americas occurred. Maybe there was also an alternative way that things occurred, and it's about literally tracing, at least for me, from my perspective as a geneticist. Some people might also take sociological, anthropological, way, like directions from trying to answer that question, right? But for me, as a geneticist, I follow the DNA, right? So someone else might look at other factors, and we basically overlay all of those not opinions, but facts gathered from theories, like Chapa was explaining. But just because a theory is long standing doesn't mean it can't be disproven. However, that doesn't mean that an alternative theory cannot exist in parallel at the same time. So it isn't like physics, where if we're talking about gravity, the law of gravity is the law of gravity. It has been calculated to that number, and that is the law of it. However, in biology, we don't have laws because it's a lot of shades of gray. And that applies to a lot of other scientists, which are not exact, like physics, mathematics, chemistry. Does that make sense?
It does, actually, and this is the issue with why people mischaracterizing what we say. The whole premise behind the Bering Strait theory is that this is the origin of how indigenous people allegedly populated the Americas. So when I'm saying that it's been refuted, because I'm actually quoting scientific peer-reviewed articles that are discussing this, and I'm naming archaeological sites that have proven that can't be the origin of our arrival into the Americas or our existence into the Americas, because these archaeological sites predate that possibility. That's what I'm saying. And yet that gets turned into some nonsense.
So I think, okay, so I think here it's a lot of like nitpicking at specific terminology, right? Because where I would see it as where you just said Carolina, is it Carolina or Carol?
It's Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina. When you say it can't be, that you're literally putting a stop to the other alternative theories. You get what I mean? So sometimes
What I'm saying
language
is it
matters
can't be
when
the
describing.
origin. It can't be the origin
Well,
point.
maybe it's an alternative origin. How about that?
Right. But when I'm saying origin, we're talking about first arrival. So that's what I'm saying. It can't be if these archaeological sites predate that.
Well, I will be honest and say that I haven't looked that far into it. And if you can please inbox me, because I'm very interested to look into that, right?
Yeah.
So I will say that I don't know what I don't know, but I will say that, guys, we have to be flexible mentally when we're talking about biological theories and origins, and it's not one like a hard fact. Like out of Africa, that is a fact. Out of Africa, done
Oh,
and
we gonna
dusted.
we
Okay,
gonna get to that too. But what
right.
what the issue is with the is that OHO?
My bad. I'm chewing. Sorry, y'all. My bad, y'all.
Nah, I'm just making sure it was you.
Yeah, I'm gonna meet up, y'all. My bad.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, the issue is that we know that people came down the Pacific coast first and used what is called the Kelp Highway or the coastal migration route, Pacific coastal migration route. So yeah, the Bering Strait theory is about the peopling of America. Yeah, no, that wasn't the first people to come and people the Americas. They came down the Pacific coast first. We already know that. But people still came through the Bering Strait. It was a standstill model where ancient East Asians and Paleo Siberians got together and mixed throughout several generations, and then they came through that ice bridge to people the Americas, right? But we know they weren't the first, right? So
Oh, really? Because
that's
that's
not
not
the
what we
issue.
were saying the other day.
That's not the issue. But they don't agree with it at all. Like if you hear Chopper, she's saying that it happened in reverse. Kind of like saying when the
there are literally
Pretenders say the
studies
slave
that
trade
show
happened in
that.
reverse.
No.
So this article that can I finish?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
This article that she brought up is only talking about pushing the date, moving the date. It's not saying that people didn't cross it. It's not saying that they didn't come from what we know today as Asia. Gotta be careful how I word that. Because actually, in the article, it is attesting to the migrations from Asia, right? I'm reading it. Hold on, let me go back to it.
Cool.
That's why I was
Unlock the
saying
door. I'll be right back.
The timing of human migration into North America.
and timing is as not I wouldn't even use the word speculative, but has been dated to as accurately as possibly they could by overlaying basically the history or the geographical history of the planet, what was happening during the ice age, human migrations at the time. And human migrations didn't only go in one direction, they went back and forth. Just like the out of Africa, there was a group that went into Asia and part of the group came back into Africa and repopulated maybe Eastern Africa. It goes in different directions, so it's not unidirectional. It is not like hard fact as such. And like misinformation just stated, like there are other ways of describing those migration patterns, but when we start to sit on the semantics and maybe use words like there's a difference between refute than dispute. Each one teach one said that in the comments earlier, and I very much agree with that, because there's a difference between that.
Yeah, so this is her article that she just showed, right? The timing of human migration into North America from Asia remains unresolved, but genetic studies tell us that ancestral Native American populations diverged from Asian populations about 36,000 years ago. Right?
I got just to move away from just real quick to move away from the topic, from your article. The Carolina, she made a statement that caught my attention. She said something happened in terms of the migration, in terms of the anthropological findings, archaeological findings, that would kind of give everything a reset. What finding that occurred that would kind of make us rethink all of this, these migrations? What is
So
this?
some of them, one of the archaeological sites, one of the more infamous ones is Monteverde in Chile. And that is because when they excavated the site and they were able to do I can't even talk, carbon dating, they were able to determine that it predated the theory of the Bering Strait Bridge by thousands of years, and that it was in South America, and that there were migration patterns moving northward. I'm not saying that the only migration was south to north, because even in our Athabascan communities, we have these origin stories about coming from the north to the south. So that being said, but that is one that predates it by several thousand years. And like I said, you can easily, like, if you don't have access to JSTOR or Wiley, you can put that specific archaeological site into like Google Scholar or something that has, free access, where they will show what the methodologies were used in these places. There are other ones in Mesoamerica. I'm just using that one because it was one that was significantly more.
Question for the natives on the panel, in the chat, whoever, have natives always been here?
Yeah, I'm not doing that with you. I'm not, because like
That's enough of the answer for me.
No, I mean, that's fine. You can take whatever you want with that, because anybody who tries to do the work of white supremacists, like, bro, I'm good. Yeah. I'm not having that conversation with you. I'm not going to get paid
like that. Asking a question. Crazy, bro.
Por favor.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's crazy when you want to do those. But no, but Choppa, for real, do you ever see people going this hard on religious people who don't use science? No, they just want to do it to indigenous people. That's cool.
Do we do? Hold on. Do we do what?
Anyway,
do we do what with people that don't use science? Do we do what with people that don't use science? Because we come at everybody. It seems like y'all. It seems like it's only a problem when it gets to y'all.
Y'all had Christian people up on your panel the day that I was there, but nothing was being said about believing in the Bible.
And they get pushed.
Oh, not the day I was there, just me.
Oh, well, maybe you should come more often instead of trying to form an opinion on one fucking day.
Like this? Why would I when you're talking to me like this?
What? Okay, well, don't come. That's the point. You not
Cool,
there,
because y'all wanted to
but
think it was
you're
everything was
making an
cool until I
assumption.
stated something
I
about
guess I'll
indigenous
let you talk. I'm gonna mute
epistemologies.
up
Then
and
I
let
was
you
a
talk over
problem,
me.
right?
So to not be there and form an opinion based on one live is crazy. I'm gonna just say that.
It's
So
also
yeah,
crazy to make.
anytime I'm
It's
gonna mute
also
up and
crazy to
let you
make
talk over
assumptions
me.
about me based off of your one mischaracterization about something I said.
Wait, Carolina, um, out of interest, what are you referring to as white supremacist ideologies?
Because
Honest question.
YT
Yeah, what are you
supremacists
referring to?
within any field have been extremely invested in
Okay.
denying indigenous people our rights to our own land. And that's why there is such an obsession with the theory of the various theories of migration into the Americas. And my point is it's the obsession about it. It's the same way I talk about people
Okay.
who are obsessed with debunking crazy abocentric people. There is an
I
obsession
have.
about it because of the motives behind it. I'm
Okay.
not
Okay.
sitting here and
Let
saying
me
that
present
various
something.
migration theories aren't valid. I'm saying these certain archaeological sites predate this, and therefore we can stop trying to
Okay,
say that all indigenous people
I'm
came
not
through the Bering
denying,
Strait.
like I said
Yeah,
earlier,
nobody's
I
saying that.
don't know about the archaeological sites you're talking about, so I can't even refer to them. So that's why I was asking what it means to you and what you mean about, because also there's other, as you maybe refer to it or as you describe it, of whitey supremacist ideologies that actually maybe humankind began in maybe the Middle East, or the original human was actually, or the pro-human was the Neanderthal in Europe. So it goes across the globe, and it's not just centered around just removing identity from Native Americans, so to speak.
Any natives agree with the out of Africa theory?
The obsession with trying to bait us into this conversation is wild.
It's not a problem when I do it to pretendians, to
I
black
don't care
people.
what y'all do to pretendians. I'm not
Oh,
heavily
right,
invested
exactly.
in that either.
That's the point. It only matters
No,
when it's
I'm not
you.
heavily invested
It,
in
it
any of
only
it.
matters when it's you. This
No,
is my
I just
point that
said
I'm
that.
proving. I know you don't agree
I
with it.
literally
This
just
is
said
my
I'm not
point that I'm
heavily
proving,
invested in
though.
it either way.
That's you. I don't give a fuck about what you're doing.
Okay, so then why are you so obsessed with the question then?
Because I'm asking, I want to know. You are obsessed with being the one that answers all the fucking time.
You said natives. I'm native. Oh, did I
Okay,
not
now
just
you
become
don't want to talk
unnative?
about it, so move on to the next person.
Cool.
OHF, they're asking if you could turn off the comments to like the screen to 100K. That's up to you, of course, but that's what they're asking in the
Maybe you can
comments.
tell the people in the comments who want to try to run their mouth to me that any day
Carolina,
or time.
ya, por favor.
Girl, but okay, people are allowed to disrespect me, and I'm just gonna sit here and take it like a punk.
No, nomás estoy diciendo de los
Carolina,
dos.
they're
Throw some tough
disrespecting
skin.
me as well in the comments.
They were disrespecting me too.
Okay, well,
Okay, so let's ignore the
Right, we the
comments
ops.
and
We
let's
the
focus
ops.
on our
Because we
conversation.
believe in the out of Africa theory.
Who said that?
And we don't believe
Who is
natives
that?
always been here. We the ops. You're right. I forgot about that, Sue.
Wait, what?
what?
We the ops. We the ops.
Who's
We are the
ops?
ops.
What are you talking
The people that believe in the out of Africa theory and don't believe that natives always been here, the people that follow science, we are the ops, quote unquote.
Wow.
Said that though, Sutek.
Right.
I've never said
Who said
that.
that?
So
No, there's people in the
Nobody
comments
said that?
literally saying that. There's people. I'm reading the comments as we speak.
I'm not paying attention to the comments
Yeah,
because
I'm
there's
trying
this
to pay
race
attention
baiting
to
here.
both because they're
Yeah,
literally trying to
one
say
of the
that.
things. Oh, go ahead, Rhea.
Oh, sorry. I'll just yeah. They're trying to say that, oh, it's been debunked years ago, and like someone was saying, it was a decade ago, and anyone who's pushing that is YT educated. And I'm like, you know what? Guess what? Yes, I have been educated in a YT institution, but guess what? I've been educated in science, and science relies on facts, which relies on you looking at evidence yourself, not evidence I myself alone has looked at. Other scientists around the world, in Asia, Australia, Latin America, like South America, North America, have looked at, and they all agree that this evidence points to certain like to certain, theories and approve certain theories. And there are also alternative theories, like I said earlier, that still need further evidence to be, pushed forward, to be pushed forward into the limelight. But until they
Exactly.
are, these are the standing theories.
And
And we
that's where
go
I
by.
stand. That is exactly where I stand. Like I said, as a scientist, I cannot sit there and say, yes, this is for sure, when we're consistently finding new and new information every single day. And perhaps maybe one day Native Americans from different tribes will be happy to share more of their information. But because their ancestors are sacred, and it's really hard to go up to a Native and say, hey, let me dig up your ancestors so we can figure this out, they're not going to let you do that. And a lot of them had different rituals as well, like burning of a body instead of burying it. So
Exactly like our tribes.
you're not going to get all the information because either one, they're not going to give it to you, or two, there's just no evidence there because, like I said, different rituals were done for different tribes.
Right. And like Chapa said, the information we have today, right? Scientists even 50 years ago didn't have access to. Why? Because they didn't have the technology to look into that information. 80 years ago, they didn't even know what the structure of DNA looked like. It was just discovered within less than our grandparents' lives, when our parents were probably being born. It was the 1980s when the structure of DNA was discovered. So the leaps and bounds science has gone through in the last maybe less than 100 years has been phenomenal. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 50 years, next 100 years, how much more information we're going to have access to because of the prowess of scientific knowledge, and how far it goes, and how much we can prove stuff, and how deeply we can look at. We've been able to sequence the human genome, but there's still many big chunks of the human genome that are either called ghost DNA or junk DNA that we still can't decipher.
This is one of the reasons why I am careful about how I word what I say, because like there are people in the comments saying the out of Africa theory has been debunked. No, I've never taken that approach. What I do believe is in alternative migration theories, and I think that everything has a reasonable means to be credible or at least scrutinized. But I've never said the out of Africa theory was debunked. The only thing that I have said was refuted and disputed and yes, and in my opinion debunked is the Bering Strait theory because of what we have. Because of the information we have available at this point in time. And it has been, and what I don't like is when I referenced epistemologies the last time, it was dismissed as only meaning oral tradition. No, I didn't, Brother X. I said the Bering Strait theory. I did not say out of Africa. I never said out of Africa theory.
Debunked because there's evidence to refute. Doesn't mean that it has been debunked. There's several different ways this could have happened. So if it's one of several different ways, then it doesn't debunk the theory.
Yeah, no, out of Africa has never been debunked. The Bering Strait theory has never been debunked. Both have been updated.
The word debunked, you're going far.
If there's several different ways in which migration could have occurred, then informing people that there's another way or alternative way does not refute what has occurred before, doesn't debunk it.
I will agree with that on everything except for the Bering Strait theory, because of the fact that there is evidence that show that by the time the corridor was there was migration and reverse linguistic patterns and archaeological material evidence.
Listen, it's just something. It's not debunked then, because if it's a part of a way in which people were able to migrate into the Americas.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the premise behind it has been debunked, which is that is the point of origin for people into the Americas. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why it keeps getting mischaracterized.
So that's an update. That's not a debunk. The people still crossed across this ice bridge. It's not a debunk. They still came over. They still came over. They still came over. And people, the Americas this way. It's not debunked. What we know now is there was an earlier migration wave down the Pacific coast. That's it. It
Can I
still
jump in real
stands.
quick? Can I jump in real
For
quick, everybody?
instance,
Can I jump in?
Carolina, if me and you decided, right? Okay, we have yours. You have your starting point. I have my starting point, and we say we're gonna run a race. Okay, and that is the finishing point. Or let's say we're running towards a finishing point. I might take a different route and different back corners, and you will take a whole different route. Doesn't mean we can't arrive at the same point. Now, the question is who arrived there first? We don't know. But the different routes are still possible. So just because I took a different route and you took a different route, you can't now say, oh, Ria's route does not exist. Disqualify her.
Exactly.
So can I
You can't
jump
say
in real
that.
quick? Can I
Zahalani
jump in?
just said it in the
Hold on,
comments, and this is what I've been
everybody.
saying, but people don't want to listen.
Hold on, everybody. If somebody's not really incredibly comfortable discussing these topics, that's fine. Like, I get it. Like, some people, like you said at the onset, you kind of gave us at the onset, you're not incredibly interested in discussing some of these details because some things you don't want everybody to have privy to. There's certain things you don't trust about the white science. I understand your skepticism. For me personally, I don't have any stakes in the argument. I know it's a lot of people out there. I'm not a dogmatist at all. If somebody can show me that world started out of the Americas, right? And they can connect that to the phylogenetic tree and show those migrations, that makes sense. My thing is if one thing doesn't exist, then for me, the way my brain works, what are we replacing it with? What migration did happen? And that's my only concern. When we have these discussions, I'm just more interested in, okay, if we have a human phylogenetic tree that's explaining how the world was populated through the DNA. If that's not accurate, right? This migration is not accurate. Show me a replacement model, and then show me the evidence. That's sort of the way my brain works. If A doesn't work, then explain it the other way. I just don't understand these conversations only because I'm not getting an alternative replacement science. I'm just getting that this doesn't exist. So I mean, I get it. You articulated very well that you're not very comfortable. I'm sure you have, I don't know the specifics, but I'm sure you have a good case on why you don't want to share everything. But for me, unless this conversation turns into a replacement of what you actually believe, then I don't know if it's productive because all we're doing is using what logic we have to kind of fill in the blanks.
Well,
So
I
for me, it
agree.
doesn't make sense because
I
I can't
agree, and like I
understand.
said, my issue is the mischaracterization of what's being said. Because just like Zahalani said in the comments, why I feel comfortable
Caroline, you mind if I
saying-
finish real quick? Do you mind if I finish my statement?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
This is what I want to say. This is what I'm saying. If this is not the migration route to the Americas, perfect. Then I'm the kind of person. Just tell me what happened. Like, tell me, like, that's how I like to have these discussions. If I can't know what happens, I kind of want to cancel the conversation altogether because if the population did not leave a certain, like, my ancestors are West African, they descend from East African migration thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, and they populate those people of West Africa. There's some zigzag migrations in between, but for the most part, that's the peopling of West Africa. It's actually a recent migration. They come over relatively recently. They're not that ancient. My ancestors, right? So that makes logical sense to me. But for me, the way my brain works in terms of the phylogenetic tree, the human phylogenetic tree, I want to understand how these migrations happen. I'm just not understanding how that happened. I'm understanding what you're pushing back against. I'm just not understanding what the migration pattern was, or if there's a entirely different migratory history or starting point, then tell me that and then explain those migrations. But I'm not getting anything out of it. So for me, it's not really fruitful to continue this conversation because I'm not getting a replacement migration. You get me?
And just